The story begins by introducing the Seer family, who are driving back to their Norwegian hometown of Edda after many years away. At the wheel is Turid, accompanied by her two sons, Magna and Loritz. While happy to be home, it is clear that unfortunate circumstances forced their return. We quickly learn of Magna's deeply helpful nature. As they enter town, their car is blocked by a man whose wheelchair is stuck. Magna immediately gets out to help, not just freeing the man but assisting him across the road. At that moment, an old woman appears, her eyes fixed on Magna. She says, "You are kind-hearted and helpful. This will help you in life." She touches his forehead, and suddenly Magna feels something strange stir inside him, the beginning of a deep change. Back in the car, the change manifests physically. When Loritz complains of being cold, Magna reaches for the window crank and accidentally shatters the glass with a touch. A moment later, disconnected from the clear blue sky outside, Magna states simply, "It's going to rain soon." His family dismisses it, citing a perfect weather forecast, but in the very next second, a heavy downpour erupts. Soon after, they arrive at their new home. Outside, Magna's eye is caught by a brochure detailing the town's environmental pollution. At the local school, Magna and Loritz are introduced to their classes. We learn Magna has dyslexia, making reading a challenge, while Loritz is a quick-witted smart aleck. They are assigned seats. Loritz lands next to a girl named Jirai, but poor Magna is relegated to the back, next to a girl named Isolde. Their teacher begins a new chapter, Ragnarok. He explains that Edda was the last town in the world to stop worshipping the old gods. He also mentions a chilling local legend, that some gods might have stayed behind, forgotten, along with their ancient enemies, the giants, monstrous forces of chaos. Later at lunch, while the other kids socialize, Magna sits alone. Seeking company, he joins Isolde. Their quiet meal is interrupted by Fjord, a boy from the town's richest family, who relentlessly bullies Isolde for her passionate environmental activism. Isolde then lays out the town's power structure for Magna. She warns, "If you want to hang out with them, you have to stop hanging out with me." That's Fjord's sister, Saxa, and that woman is Ran, the school principal. Her husband built this school. Basically, this family owns and runs everything. Magna is stunned by how unbelievably beautiful and agelessly young they all look. After school, Isolde discovers her bike has been vandalized. Resigned, she says, "The kids here always get back at me like this. Now I'll have to get it fixed again." Magna offers, "Well, I can at least try." Though Isolde knows the thick metal wire is impossible to bend by hand, Magna straightens the tire out perfectly with a simple squeeze. That same night, he feels his body changing, growing bigger. The next day, the class is assigned a project on environmental pollution. Magna and Isolde are grouped with Jirai, the girl Magna has a crush on. Isolde immediately points the finger at the Judel family, whose massive corporations, she argues, are directly responsible for the town's melting glaciers. Meanwhile, Turid has a meeting with Principal Ran about Magna's behavioral issues. As they talk, Magna feels a sudden, sharp unease, sensing they should close the window. They ignore him, and moments later, something crashes right through it. During the tense conversation, Magna fidgets with an instrument, accidentally crushing it in his hands. Later, at a gas station, Turid marvels at the principal's appearance. She says, "Did you see her up close? She must be 40 or 50, but she looks younger than 35. There's definitely some secret to her face." Just then, a fancy car pulls up, driven by Vidar Judel, the family patriarch. He somehow knows Turid from her past and learns her husband, Asbjorn, died years ago. When Turid introduces Magna, Vidar's dog begins barking with a strange, vicious ferocity, its eyes glowing with an unnatural, predatory light. Back at the Judel mansion, Vidar is reading an old article about the mysterious, unsolved death of Magna's father. The family's strangeness is then put on full display. Vidar walks into a bathroom where his children, Fjord and Saxa, are, and begins urinating in front of them as he gives them a chilling order. He says, "I need you to keep an eye on the new boys at school, the tall, well-built one Magna." He demands a full report on his every move. Their subsequent conversation about aging confirms that this family is hiding a profound, ancient secret. The changes in Magna are now undeniable. He has grown so tall, he must extend his bed with one of his father's old sleds. When their mom walks in, Loritz, who was smoking, quickly helps Magna lie about a neighbor visiting. Feeling overwhelmed, Magna asks Loritz for help with his project. Loritz helps by writing a nonsensical essay designed to humiliate Magna in front of Jirai. Furious at the prank, Magna spends the entire night researching, consuming Isolde's environmental vlogs, and crafts a brilliant essay of his own. The next day, at a store, Magna runs into the same old woman from his first day in town. He and Isolde talk about Edda's history and the melting glaciers before she invites him for dinner. At her beautiful home, filled with classical music and books, Magna is startled to find their teacher is Isolde's father. Over dinner, she confronts her father about her own mother's mysterious death. Later, in her room, they plan a hike, and Magna accidentally sees her diary, discovering she has a huge crush on Jirai. At school, Fjord announces a party at his mansion. Isolde declines, saying she and Magna are hiking to the glaciers. Everyone warns them the area is dangerous, but Isolde is determined. She insists, "I go there every year. I love it." That evening, Magna touches a sledgehammer at home and is hit with strange, fragmented flashbacks. The family shares a warm moment, with Loritz even joking about his crush on a lesbian girl, showcasing their supportive bond. The following day, Magna and Isolde head for the mountains. The view is stunning. Isolde explains that the Judels have seized control of the area, claiming even the mountains as their private property. They ignore a warning sign and cross a dangerous bridge. Just then, Magna gets a frantic voice message from Loritz. Their mom is sick, and he must come home immediately. Terrified, Magna leaves Isolde alone, promising to return. As Magna races home, Vidar drives to the same mountain. In a shocking transformation, he strips naked, leaps from a peak peak, his eyes becoming purely animalistic, and lands among a herd of reindeer. He plunges his hand into one's chest, rips out its heart, and devours it raw, letting out a deafening, inhuman roar that echoes for miles. The roar reaches Isolde, who has discovered a hidden cave. Inside, she finds a door marked as the private property of the Judel family. Terrified but determined, she documents everything with her camera. Magna arrives home to find his mother perfectly fine. It was all a cruel prank. He immediately turns back, only to see Isolde paragliding down from the mountain. He watches in horror as her balance falters. She flies straight into high-voltage power lines. A massive explosion follows, and her body falls lifelessly to the ground. Magna runs to her, crying, but it is too late. Vidar also arrives, coolly managing the scene. Magna has just lost the only friend he had made. That night, broken and screaming in agony, Magna rips off his glasses. His vision is now perfect. He sees a sledgehammer lying nearby. With a roar of pure grief and rage, he picks it up and hurls it into the sky with impossible power. The hammer does not come back down. It vanishes into the clouds, and in response, a massive thunderstorm instantly forms. Lightning cracks across the sky, and all the lights in Edda go out. Morning broke over a home heavy with grief. Magna sat silently at the table, clearly depressed and refusing to eat breakfast. His brother, Loritz, ever the provocateur, snarkily remarked that Magna was so upset because his girlfriend had died. Their mom, Turid, immediately scolded him for his cruelty before the two brothers headed off to school. At school, a wave of well-intentioned sympathy washed over Magna. Everyone knew Isolde was his friend and assumed he was taking it hard. Loritz quickly pulled him away, telling everyone that Magna didn't want to talk to anyone right now. When Magna got to his classroom, he found his own chair had been turned into a makeshift shrine covered in flowers and candles in memory of Isolde. Just then, the principal, Ran, arrived to address the class. Somberly, she announced that the community had lost a very wonderful girl and stated that, as everyone knew, it was an accident. She informed them that Isolde's father, Eric, their history teacher, was in shock and wouldn't be in. But just seconds later, Eric himself walked through the door. With a strained voice, he explained that he couldn't stay at home, as he didn't think he should be alone in his condition. It was clear he had come to class seeking a distraction from his overwhelming grief. After class, an assembly was held for the entire school. A police officer took the stage first and laid out the official story of Isolde's death. She explained that when Isolde went paragliding, the weather turned unexpectedly bad, lightning struck, and that's what caused her death. Crucially, she added that they had recovered everything except for her phone, which was still missing, before sternly warning all students to stay away from the mountains. Next, the school's therapist introduced himself, offering support for any student who was struggling. In truth, no one was that close to Isolde to be inconsolable, but it was his job to be there. However, Magna felt in his gut that the official story was a lie. He marched straight up to the police officer and insisted that there had been no lightning at that time. He argued that Isolde had died when she hit the power lines and questioned how the officer could claim she was struck by lightning when the weather had been perfectly clear. The officer dismissed him condescendingly, stating that there was lightning and Magna just hadn't seen it. Magna pushed back, declaring that it wasn't true because he had been there and knew there was no lightning. But the officer shut him down, attributing his words to grief. She told him she knew he was grieving and that what was done was done. She completely ignored his points and walked away, reinforcing Magna's suspicion that there was a cover-up in progress. After this, Magna immersed himself in Isolde's old vlogs, poring over her research about the strange things happening in Edda, rising magnesium levels, contaminated water, and the town's general environmental decay. The scene then shifted to Turid, who was leaving for work when Vidar Judel showed up. He told her his car window had been smashed the previous night, explaining that it was completely shattered and looked as if someone had taken a hammer to it. He asked for her help with the insurance claim. As Turid zoomed in on the photo Vidar sent, her heart stopped. Lodged in the broken glass was her own family's hammer. Later, when Magna and Loritz got home, Turid confronted Magna. Furious, she yelled, demanding to know what was wrong with him and who he thought he was for smashing Vidar's car. She asked how she was supposed to explain that it was her hammer and that her son had done it. She declared that he was going to be punished for it and, on top of that, was lying about it. Magna was utterly confused, having no idea what she was talking about or how the hammer could have possibly gotten there. Magna stared at the picture, trying to piece together an impossible memory. He got on his computer and mapped the distance from his house to Vidar's, confirming it was about 1.5 kilometers, nearly a mile. Loritz saw him and joked that while other boys looked at weird things online, Magna was looking up directions. He then handed him some money from their mom, telling him to go buy a new hammer because she needed one. That night, Magna bought the hammer, but on his way back, he felt an urge to test something. He went to a wide open field and threw the hammer with every ounce of his might. He then started counting his steps, walking deep into the forest to find where it landed. The distance was staggering, half a kilometer. He couldn't believe it himself. How had he done that? How had he gotten so strong? The scene cut to Vidar examining the old hammer when Ran walked in. Dismissively, she said it was probably a disgruntled employee or an Njari student and told Vidar he wasn't going to find out who did it just by staring at a hammer. Ran then casually mentioned the student from her school who had died. As she was about to leave, Vidar stopped her with a chilling confession. He had killed her. Ran turned back, her expression hardening. Vidar explained that Isolde had reached their secret cave near the factory and had seen far too much. He admitted that he hadn't wanted to kill her, but had felt he had to. Ran was furious, not at the murder itself, but at the violation of their pact. She reminded him coldly that they had a deal not to kill humans and that no matter what humans did, they were not allowed to kill them. Vidar insisted he had no choice and revealed that Isolde's phone was still missing. Ran replied that she had already handled the police and instructed him to find that phone as soon as possible so they could keep things clear. Their conversation, devoid of any human morality, revealed the terrifying gulf between them and ordinary people. Back at school, Magna and Jirai discussed their project. Their teacher remembered Isolde was their third member and offered to make arrangements, but they decided to complete it together. Jirai even agreed to come over to Magna's house that evening to work on it. That evening, Magna helped with chores, easily carrying 3 huge boxes at once. When Jirai called to say she was on her way, he frantically started checking the kitchen for something nice to offer her. When she arrived, they talked about the project, but then Jirai tried to get to know him better. She asked him to tell her something about himself, explaining that she felt like she could never connect with him. Magna, socially awkward and unsure what to say, blurted out the impossible truth that the other day he had thrown a hammer about 1.5 kilometers, and the second time he threw it, it had gone 500 meters. Jirai went silent, clearly thinking he was making up a bizarre story to avoid talking to her. She told him it was okay and that they could talk some other time. She packed her bag and left, making Magna feel incredibly guilty for his failed attempt to be honest. The scene shifted to Turid at the mall, where she saw Eric looking completely lost. When he picked up a water bottle, he was reminded of his daughter, and Turid, seeing his pain, went over and gave him a comforting hug. As she was at the checkout, the mysterious old woman from the first episode told her that the true hero was coming and that he had awakened. Turid, unaware of the changes in her son, dismissed the comment. We cut back to Magna, still researching the weather from the day Isolde died. He explained his suspicions to Loritz, saying that Isolde had died right in front of him under a clear sky, but the police officer was telling a completely different story, and he wanted to know what was going on. Loritz told him not to overthink it and tried to convince him to come to a big school party that night, an event Eric himself approved, saying Isolde would have wanted it. At the party, everyone was messing around when Saxa brought up Isolde, feigning sadness. Meanwhile, Vidar was back at the spot where Isolde fell, desperately searching for her phone. At the same time, Magna arrived, having decided to first visit Isolde's memorial. He left some flowers, remembering his friend, while Vidar watched him from a distance. Then, Loritz made his grand entrance at the party, so dramatic that everyone stopped and stared. The party officially kicked off with Principal Rand giving a speech remembering Isolde, in which she declared that drinking was strictly forbidden. She then handed the stage over to Saxa, who sang a song in her memory. Right in the middle of it, Magna walked in, his sudden entrance silencing the room. Loritz greeted him, surprised, and Magna noticed his brother was wearing their mom's shirt. As the music played, Fjord struck up a conversation with Loritz, who was clearly smitten. Magna and Jirai were talking, but Fjord swooped in and asked Jirai to dance, leaving Magna watching unhappily. He went to the washroom, where he warned a classmate not to drink the tap water. The guy scoffed, asking if Isolde's spirit had possessed Magna. He then added that the incident had happened, that she hit the mountains and died, and questioned what the big deal was. Magna grabbed him, asking what he had just said. The guy repeated the story. This sent Magna over the edge. He yelled, questioning why everyone was saying different things. The police mentioning lightning while the classmate mentioned mountains, and demanded to know the truth. Realizing he was losing control, Magna let go and decided to leave. As Magna was leaving, Fjord took over the music. The moment his chosen song started, the atmosphere changed. The other kids backed away as Fjord and Saxa began a bizarre, inhuman dance, their bodies twisting and jerking as if their bones were breaking. Loritz joined in, somehow knowing all the creepy, unsettling moves. At the same time, we saw Rand going wild with some college students. The three of them, Fjord, Saxa, and Loritz, performed an insane, terrifying dance, looking more like animals than humans. When the music stopped, they snapped back to reality. Magna, having left, went straight to Isolde's house. He found Eric clearing out her belongings. Magna pleaded with him, asking if he even knew what had happened. He explained that everyone was giving a different story and that he had a strong feeling something was wrong. Eric got in Jirai and shouted at him to leave. Furious, Magna walked out and shoved a parked car with immense force, sending it sliding across the street. Eric was stunned and asked Magna how he did that before telling him to come back inside. Meanwhile, Fjord, Loritz, and friends ended up at Isolde's memorial. Fjord called the tribute ridiculous and sneered that they should know what that girl was really worth before peeing all over the memorial. When his friend snapped a picture and posted it, Fjord lost it, brutally beating the boy until he deleted it. Back at the house, Eric revealed Isolde's research. He explained that she had always felt something was wrong in Edda, detailing how anyone who got close to exposing the Joodles seemed to disappear. They found her diary, but to protect her secret crush on Jirai, Magna threw it in the trash, saying that her secrets should stay with her. Rand showed Vidar the picture of Fjord at the memorial, and he was enraged. At the same time, Jirai was at a sleepover at Saxa's house, where Saxa planted seeds of doubt about Magna and Isolde. Later, Vidar confronted Fjord. He lectured his son, explaining that humans respected them and that their lives and deaths in Edda all depended on them. He questioned how Fjord would manage the place after he was gone. Then, he attacked his son, beating him mercilessly against the stone pillars of their home. Blood poured from Fjord's body, but Vidar didn't stop. In the middle of the night, Jirai woke up and peeked downstairs, horrified to witness the savage beating. The next day was Isolde's funeral. Everyone gathered at the church. As Jirai entered, her eyes fell on Fjord. She was shocked to see that his face was perfectly fine, not a single scratch after the brutal assault she had witnessed. It was then that Jirai became truly terrified, realizing something was fundamentally wrong with the Joodles. Later, Loritz and Turid returned returned home from the funeral, only to find their entire house had been completely ransacked. It looked like a robbery, but it was clear someone was desperately searching for something very specific. In the next scene, Magna and Loritz confront a local junkie, intent on extracting a confession for the break-in. Loritz immediately identifies him as the only person missing from Isolde's funeral. At first, the man denies everything, but when Magna gives him a slight, almost effortless push, the junkie's bravado shatters. He sputters in terror that the door to their house was already open and insists that he did not ransack the place. Loritz presses him, asking if he stole his headphones. The man caves, admitting to the theft but questioning if they are going to beat someone up over a pair of headphones. He reiterates that the door was open and everything was already a mess when he got there. Magna leans in and asks if he saw anyone else. The man's eyes widen with the memory, and he recalls seeing a big car parked outside with a really weird-looking dog in it whose eyes were strange. In that moment, Magna understands. It was not the junkie, it was Vidar. The scene then shifts to Magna in a session with the school's therapist. The therapist gently prods, trying to get him to open up about his feelings. Magna lays it all on the table, explaining that Isolde was his friend, but her death is not normal. He is certain there is a mystery behind it, and that the police are deliberately botching the investigation. He also reveals his conviction that he knows who broke into their house, concluding that since the police will not help, he will have to find the answers himself. The moment the therapist steps out, he is intercepted by Principal Ran. As his boss, she demands to know about Magna's condition. The therapist initially cites confidentiality, but Ran blackmails him. She threatens that if he does not tell her, she will not know whether she should keep Magna in the school, adding that if he has a serious problem, she might have to give him a leave of absence. Backed into a corner, the therapist reveals everything. Magna believes Isolde's death was a murder. He plans to investigate it himself. His house has been burglarized, and he suspects her husband, Vidar. Later, at home, Turid gets ready to paint when Magna tells her his suspicions. But Turid is more focused on Loritz, scolding him for roughing up the neighbor, who she says came by to return the stolen headphones. Loritz retorts that the man did not return them but stole them. Magna cuts in, stating that Vidar was there before him, looking for something. Turid immediately jumps to Vidar's defense, asking why he would come to their house to steal when he has everything. The boys exchange a look, realizing their mom's old high school crush on Vidar is clouding her judgment. Just then, Eric, Isolde's father, shows up with her laptop. He figures Magna can use it, a way to keep a piece of his daughter from going to waste. Later, Magna opens it and finds a meticulously organized folder Isolde had created, a deep dive into the Judel family and the suspicious operations of their factories. That evening, a tense conversation unfolds at the Judel mansion. Ran tells Vidar it is a good thing the therapist is a friend of hers, revealing she knows everything. She sees that Magna is just creating more and more problems. She then turns on Vidar, questioning if it was a good idea to go to Magna's house the previous day in broad daylight, and asks if no one recognizes his car or his dog. Their family has stayed off the police's radar for years, and now, thanks to Vidar's recklessness, they risk exposure. Back at school, Jirai works alone when Fir saunters over to hit on her. He suggests that she should come for a drive with him. Jirai, completely uninterested, shuts him down, telling him that she has no interest in going anywhere with him. She then reveals that she saw what his father did to him the other night. She points to his flawless face and notes that there is not a single mark on him. Fir brushes it off but then switches tactics, his charm turning sincere. The change works. Jirai softens and agrees to the drive. But as they get in the car, Saxa and Loritz pile into the back seat, crashing the date. Meanwhile, Magna is back at the police station, once again trying to convince the officer to reopen the case. The officer, annoyed, changes her story again, stating that Isolde crashed into a mountain. Magna argues that she knows there are no mountains nearby. She then backpedals, admitting they do not know what Isolde hit but that her neck was broken. When Magna keeps pushing, the officer turns the tables. She says menacingly that she could also investigate how he got home from the mountain in half an hour when it is a 90-minute walk. She warns him that some things are better left alone. The threat lands, making Magna feel like a suspect and forcing him to wonder how he ran home so fast. In Fjord's car, Loritz talks about Magna's incredible strength. Fjord puts on the same ancient, haunting song from the party. Jirai asks if he even understands the language. Saxa replies from the back that it is an ancient language. Loritz's suspicion is piqued, and he asks how the two of them know it is an ancient language. The siblings quickly change the subject. Suddenly, a bird flies into their windshield. Fjord and Saxa get out and start arguing, but their attention turns to the twitching, half-dead bird on the ground. Without a flicker of emotion, Saxa picks it up and eats it whole. Now aware of his speed, Magna goes to a track to test himself. He clocks a 100-meter dash in about 6 seconds. Amazed, he records a vlog, noting he is just 2 seconds shy of the world record. Elsewhere, a hospital worker visits Eric, asking if he wants Isolde's clothes back but warning him about the bloodstains. At the same time, Vidar discards a pair of bloody gloves in a trash can. Just then, Magna, distracted by his phone, is hit full-on by a speeding truck. Vidar arrives home, ecstatic. He announces that the problem that was coming their way has solved itself and pours drinks. He reveals that Magna is dead, having been hit by a truck going 50 kilometers per hour. This confirms to his children that he did, in fact, kill Isolde. The revelation opens the floodgates for the family's dysfunction. Fjord confronts Vidar for the hypocrisy of beating him over a a memorial for a girl he murdered. They all agree they have become too entangled with humans and must return to their old ways of keeping their distance. Then, Saxa asks the most important question: why did their father kill Isolde? Vidar finally reveals their great secret, explaining that she saw something she was not supposed to see. He explains that when they arrived in 1967, they hid powerful, secret materials behind the glaciers. But now, climate change is melting the ice, exposing the hidden tunnel. Isolde saw it, and for that, she had to die. The scene shifts to the hospital, where doctors are baffled. After a full-body X-ray, they cannot find a single injury on Magna, not a scratch, not a fracture. As he leaves, with a splitting headache but feeling stronger than ever, he is given a bag with Isolde's clothes. On his way out, he sees a body being wheeled in on a gurney. It is the junkie. Vidar has eliminated the only witness. The next day at school, Saxa's jaw drops when she sees Magna sitting in class, alive and well. During a lecture, Magna's comments on pollution set Saxa off, and she launches into a fierce defense of her family's factories. After class, Magna asks his teacher if dried blood can be tested. Jirai overhears and later comes to his house, where Magna shows her Isolde's jacket. He says that he can smell something really strange, detecting a recent scent on the bloodstain that Jirai cannot. Later, at a cafe, Saxa publicly humiliates Jirai by revealing a deeply personal secret she had shared in confidence. Mortified, Jirai rushes to her family's salon, where she finds her father drinking. He reveals that the insurance company denied his claim for the lung disease he got from working at the Judel factory, and that he does not have much time left to live. The Judel family is now on high alert. Vidar tells Ran that a normal person would have been crushed by that truck and wonders what Magna is. Ran replies grimly that they will find out tonight. That evening, Loritz announces that they have been invited to dinner at the Judel mansion. Turid is thrilled. At the house, the family welcomes them to a lavish feast. They ply Loritz with drinks, hoping to loosen his tongue, but Magna remains unaffected. Saxa then challenges him to shots, but even that has no effect. Finally, Vidar steps in. He tells Magna he will give him something important and pours a new drink. He explains that it is the most ancient drink from the time of the Vikings and that giants and gods all drank it. He hands the glass to Magna, who downs it with ease, leaving the entire Judel family stunned. Meanwhile, Jirai shows up at Magna's house, only to learn he is at the Judels and she was not invited. Back at the party, the ancient music plays and Magna, finally feeling the effects of the drink, begins to dance wildly. Determined to test his limits, Ran challenges him to an arm wrestling match. Magna, thinking it is a joke, agrees. They lock hands, and he is shocked by her raw, immense power. As they struggle, their faces inches apart. Magna asks her who she is. Ran fires back, asking who he is. Suddenly, Ran's face transforms, her features twisting into her true, ancient, witch-like form. The terrifying visage catches Magna off guard, and in that split-second shot, Ran slams his arm down, winning the match and breaking the table in half. Magna stumbles to the bathroom, his head spinning. He splashes water on his face, trying to clear his mind, realizing he needs to get out of there. He looks up at his reflection in the mirror and sees a completely different person staring back. His face has changed, he has a full beard, and he looks exactly like Thor. The vision terrifies him. He has just seen his true self for the first time. Magna, already deep in the wilderness, tests the incredible power coursing through him. After smashing a log with an axe, he runs through the forest and stops to catch his breath, trying to process the overwhelming changes reshaping his reality. The scene then cuts to the Judel family, dissecting the events of the previous night. It is now clear to all of them that Magna is no ordinary human. Ran and Fear argue that he is just a boy, a strange anomaly. Vidar and Saxa see the truth. They believe Magna is a threat, a danger that needs to be understood and possibly eliminated, suggesting that killing him would not be a big deal. Meanwhile, Magna unleashes his power on a massive tree, punching it repeatedly. Back at the Judel house, the debate continues. At that moment, Magna lands a final punch that completely shatters the tree, breaking it in half. The message is clear. This is not normal strength. This is something else entirely. Ultimately, the Judels reach a consensus. They will give Magna one chance. Instead of killing him outright, they will observe him for now to understand what he truly is. The next morning at Magna's house, Turid speaks to her sons about the party. She asks them how it was and comments on the Judels being the 6th wealthiest family in Norway, speculating that the food must have been amazing. Loritz, ever the pot stirrer, tries to hint that Magna has something to confess, warning him that someone is going to find out about what he did. When Magna stays silent, Loritz blurts it out himself, telling his mom that they gave Magna something to drink. Turid's cheerful mood evaporates. She demands the truth, and Magna admits they were served an illegal, homemade moonshine. Turid learns that they would serve dangerous alcohol to underage kids. After breakfast, Magna does some research. Vidar had mentioned the drink was from the time of the Vikings. A quick online search floods his screen with images of gods, giants, heroes, and monsters. He sees depictions of Thor, but then one particular image stops him. A woman awakening a man's powers by placing her hand on his forehead. He realizes instantly that the exact same thing happened to him. The old woman from the supermarket, Wanche, did that to him, and ever since, his powers have been growing. Turid marches straight to Ran's office. She firmly states that she did not appreciate Ran serving her underage children alcohol. Ran, completely unfazed, throws it back in her face. Ran replies that a few days ago, Turid was telling her how much trouble Magna Magna was, and that they were just trying to let the boys have some fun. Turid stands her ground, reminding Ran that she has no right to serve alcohol to any student. Meanwhile, Magna confronts Wonche at the supermarket. He demands to know why she touched his head that day, explaining that he looked in the mirror and saw something strange. Wonche finally reveals the truth. She explains that she did not do anything but awaken the powers that were sleeping inside him. She reveals that he is a descendant of Thor and has returned. She continues that the giants are still alive on the soil of Edda, that they must be destroyed, and that he must return to his true self. Magna does not understand the talk of giants and gods. We then see Jirai giving Fjord the cold shoulder because he laughed along with the others who were mocking her at the cafe instead of defending her. Back in class, Eric announces the annual school trek to the mountain. He gives them a history lesson, explaining the mountain's mythological significance as the first place in creation. This sparks a debate about who came first, the gods or the giants. Saxa, protecting her own kind, interrupts. She sneers that the teacher is completely wrong, stating that first there were the giants and the demons, and they were the ones people worshipped who decided who lived and who died. She adds that then the gods showed up. Eric quiets them down and asks who the one is who can defeat the giants. Instantly, Magna's hand shoots up, a perfect, unknowing echo of the past, as Thor was the only one the giants ever feared. Later, their science teacher gives Magna the blood report he requested. She tells him that he was right and that there are two different types of blood on the jacket. The first is Isolde's, but the second one is from something else. When Magna looks at the report, he sees the second sample is reindeer blood. How did reindeer blood get on Isolde's jacket? The next day, Jirai's project presentation on the Judel factory's pollution leads to a massive fight with Saxa. This time, Jirai does not back down. She shouts that her own father works in their factory and that his lungs are completely ruined. Later, Saxa and Fjord approach Magna and Loritz at lunch. As a pretense to speak to Magna alone, Saxa speaks to him in an ancient guttural language. To her shock, Magna understands every single word. He gets up and walks away. Magna and Jirai show the blood report to Eric. He is stunned to see the evidence of animal blood on his daughter's jacket, but when Magna pleads with him to investigate, Eric snaps. He tells Magna to listen carefully and to drop the case right now, adding that he does not want to hear another word about it. The scene cuts to Ran taking a milk bath, where Vidar finds her. Vidar believes Magna is a danger and reveals his plan to kill him on the mountain trip tomorrow. Ran warns him against it, cautioning him that if Magna dies too, it will cause a huge problem. Vidar has already killed 2 people. A third death linked to Magna would draw too much attention, but Vidar does not care. The next day, the trek begins. Magna's superhuman speed and senses are on full display. He effortlessly keeps pace, his vision so sharp he can identify an eagle in the far distance and perfectly describe the students hiking far below. Then he spots a dead reindeer. He heads down to investigate and finds a gaping hole in its chest, as if its heart was ripped out. The moment he smells the blood, he knows instantly. It is the exact same blood that was on Isolde's jacket. Later, at the camp, Magna is put on the spot and confesses his feelings for Jirai in front of everyone. She pulls him aside. She tells him that they are good friends, but she does not love him. She then adds that she likes Fjord more. Magna hears this, and at that very moment, the weather begins to turn. As he is leaving, he runs into Vidar. Vidar asks Magna why he is leaving so soon as he continues to test him. At the same time, Fjord, who has come all this way just to see Jirai, convinces her to go paragliding with him. Back with Vidar, he begins cutting up meat from a hunt and hands Magna a knife. Seizing the moment, he starts speaking in the ancient language. He asks Magna if he remembers them and if he remembers the war between their kinds. Something clicks inside Magna. He understands everything. In the same ancient tongue, he replies that he does, and that for everything that happened in that battle, they will all pay. He shoves Vidar aside and storms off. He finds Loritz, who tells him Jirai left with Fjord to go paragliding. Magna takes off running. Meanwhile, Vidar searches Magna's bag and finds a knife with a familiar mark, the same as the hammer. He tells Ran that it was Magna and that he is going to kill him. He makes his monstrous dog sniff Magna's jacket and commands it to reveal its true form and kill Magna. As Magna races across the mountain, Eric makes his way to the remote spot where Isolde died. There, hidden in one of her childhood stone shelters, he finds it, her phone. Suddenly, Vidar's dog attacks Magna. It is a vicious, brutal fight. The dog sinks its teeth into his arm, but Magna, with a display of pure power, grabs the beast by its jaws and rips its head in two. The fight leaves him covered in blood. While this is happening, Jirai and Fjord become intimate. Later, Vidar finds the mutilated body of his hound, stunned that Magna could have killed it. Magna, meanwhile, sees Jirai with Fjord and turns away. A little while later, Jirai wanders into a forbidden room in Fjord's house and finds an old photo album. The pictures are centuries old, yet the people in them are unmistakably the Judels, Unaged, their faces exactly the same. One photo is dated 1877. Just then, Fjord walks in and tells her never to come into that room again. After this, Magna arrives home, completely covered in blood. His mother sees him. Next, the scene shifts to the grand halls of the Judel mansion, where the family mourns the loss of their monstrous hound. More than a pet, it was one of their own, a fellow giant. In low chants, they call upon their fallen ancestors, seeking strength against the new enemy in their midst. Meanwhile, a different kind of interrogation happens at the seer house. Turid questions a blood-soaked Magna, asking what happened to him and why he is covered in blood. Magna explains that Vidar's dog attacked him, and he was forced to kill it in self-defense. Turid is skeptical. She insists that if the dog bit him, he should have marks and asks why he is not injured at all. Magna struggles to articulate the impossible truth. He says that he did have marks and that the dog did bite him, but they disappeared on his way home, and he does not know how he can make her understand. The next day, The police arrive at their door. They ask Magna why he did it. He repeats his story of self-defense, but the officer shows Turid a photo on her phone. The officer says that defending oneself is one thing, but questions why he had to kill the dog so brutally, suggesting he could have just scared it off. When Turid looks at the photo, she sees that Magna had ripped the dog's jaw in two. The police warn her of the consequences. If charges are pressed, Magna could be sent to a juvenile detention center, a mark that would ruin his future. Magna retreats to his room. He begins recording a video diary on his phone to document his reality. He explains that the dog attacked him because the Joodles want to kill him. He talks about his powers, his instantaneous healing, his incredible strength. As he records, his anger builds, and he punches a hole clean through his terrace roof, capturing the feet on camera, wondering who on earth would ever believe him. The scene shifts to the Joodle home. Rand prepares to go out, while Vidar grabs a knife, ready to hunt Magna down. Rand stops him, asking if he is out of his mind. Saxa, however, eggs him on, telling him to go and kill Magna. They are all now certain that Magna is no ordinary human. He has to be an incarnation of one of their ancient enemies. Rand argues against murder, pointing out the police and media scrutiny it would bring. She says that if word gets out about what he did to their dog, he will be sent to juvie and his future will be ruined anyway, questioning why they should get involved. Vidar picks up an axe. He asks Fjord for his opinion. Fjord asks how long it has been since all that happened. He says that they are not like that anymore and reminds his father that he loved watching TV and his mother loved going out, asking why they cannot just go back to that. This makes Vidar angry. The consequences for Magna, however, are swift. He is called into a meeting at school with his counselor, Principal Rand, the police, and his mom. They declare his mental state unstable and sentence him to mandatory therapy. He is cut off from the world. No internet, no phone, no laptop. They frame his actions as a personal vendetta against the Joodles. First the car, now the dog. Then Eric is brought in. He reveals that Magna has a Soul's laptop, which contains her research on the Joodle companies, suggesting Magna is being influenced by conspiracy theories. Magna is forced to surrender the laptop and all his devices. Later, Saxa confronts Fjord, dangling Gyr's earring in front of him. She tells him that he was told to stay away from humans, yet he brings the girl into their home and into the one room that is forbidden. Fjord lies, claiming it was just a fling, which only makes Saxa angrier. She gives him an ultimatum, telling him to break up with the girl or it will not end well for him, and threatening to tell Vidar everything. Back at school, Magna sees Gry. He brushes off her attempts to talk. Later, at his locker, Eric approaches him. Magna says that Eric betrayed him too. Eric explains he was pressured but offers a peace offering. The test tube of glacier water Isolde had collected. Eric says that he found it on the mountain and hopes Magna can get it tested. After Eric promises to keep it a secret, Magna takes it. That evening, Gry is at Magna's house. He tells her about the dangerous chemical, cadmium, that Isolde's notes linked to the Joodle industries. He shows her the new water sample, vowing to get it tested. Gry tries to dissuade him. She says that their project is not about the Joodle family. Magna replies that he gets it and that she cannot write anything against them because she is with Fjord now. Later, at a playground, the new girl, Iman, sits with Magna. As she leaves, she spots Saxa showing off during sports practice and asks for her name. Saxa then walks over to Magna. She tells him that they know who he is now and that he is human and will always be human. As one of her friends struggles, Saxa says that humans are like that, gullible and foolish. She then shoves Magna with incredible force, sending him flying into a wall and leaving a crater. She hurls a javelin, embedding it deep into the concrete. As she leaves, she tells him that he was right and that she is very good at this game. Magna finds his science teacher and gives her the glacier water sample, begging her to test it for cadmium. She agrees. The scene shifts to Gry's house, where Fjord has come to break up with her. But when he learns her father is dying from an illness caused by working in his family's factory, an illness for which they were denied compensation, he finds he cannot do it. Instead of ending things, he feels himself falling for her even more. This defiance leads to a violent fight between Fjord and Saxa back at their mansion. Knives are drawn, but in the end, Saxa gives him one last warning, telling him that if he does anything else, she will kill him and she will kill the girl too. At Magna's house, Turid sees his school assignment is a direct attack on the Joodle family. She says that she could lose her job and the police could take him away. When Magna refuses therapy, she tells him not to force her hand. The next day, he is pulled into another meeting. Rand reveals they know about the water sample. It has been confiscated. His own mother has betrayed him. First Eric, now her. Later, Fjord tries to break up with Gry again but cannot. Magna finds Gry at school. He tells her that everyone thinks he is crazy. Just then, his science teacher catches up to him. She tells him that he was absolutely right and that the sample he gave her had dangerously high levels of cadmium. But what good is proof when no one will listen? Feeling completely alone, Magna stands by the mountains when One Shay appears. She tells him that he cannot give up like this, but Magna has lost all hope. He tells her that she chose the wrong guy and that he cannot do anything. When he gets home, he gets into a huge fight with Turid. Eric, who was invited for dinner, finds Magna locked in his room. He knocks and tells Magna that he put Isolde's phone in rice to dry it out. He says that it is working now, but that he cannot unlock it. He leaves the phone with Magna, who, after a few tries, enters Saxa's name as the password. The phone unlocks. He goes straight to the gallery and finds it all. Pictures of the glacier, the hidden cave, and the secret factory tunnel within. He finally has proof. While Eric and Turid have dinner, Magna slips out. He follows the path from Isolde's photos to the glaciers and finds the cave. At the same time, back at the Joodle house, Vidar demands to know where the missing photograph is. Meanwhile, Magna makes his way deep inside the cave. He smashes the lock on the door marked Judal Industries property, steps inside, and turns on the lights. The sight that greets him is horrifying. Thousands upon thousands of barrels, leaking a toxic chemical. This is the source. The leakage from these barrels is contaminating the glacier water, which then flows into the town, poisoning everything. Magna has finally found the dark heart of Edda's problems. Next, Magna leads the local police officer and Eric to the mountain tunnel, ready to show the crucial evidence he discovered the night before. The officer acknowledges its importance, but reminds him that, since this is Judal property, the family must be notified. As Magna arrives, Vidar is already there, waiting for him. Vidar asks Magna how far his madness has gone. He gestures at the broken door and states that Magna is the one who called them there, which means Magna was there the previous night and is the one who broke the lock. He asks how Magna could just trespass on private property. Magna tries to lead the officer and Eric inside. Vidar opens the door himself. When the lights flicker on, they illuminate a tunnel that is completely empty. There is not a single barrel in sight. Magna saw it all. He wonders how thousands of barrels could have vanished overnight and how Vidar managed to pull it off so quickly. Once again, Magna is made out to be a liar. His credibility is gone, and now therapy is mandatory. It seems everyone has declared him crazy. The scene shifts to the school, where Ran addresses the student body. She informs them that Magna's condition is deteriorating daily. She presents him as a student who is fixated on her family's business, making threats, and now, a very serious false accusation. Ran announces that considering his deteriorating mental state, Magna has been suspended from the school. Jirai stands up and walks out. She finds Magna packing his bag and runs up to him, wrapping him in a hug. After their embrace, Magna leaves the school. The scene cuts to Vidar, who has summoned Fjord to their private library. He opens the photo album, points to the empty slot where their family photo used to be, and punches Fjord across the face. Vidar tells Fjord that he told him to stay away from humans, yet he brought the girl into their home. He says she came into the room and took the picture, and asks if Fjord has any idea what kind of trouble it could cause. Fjord insists Jirai saw nothing. Vidar asks if Fjord really thinks someone could come into the room and not see anything. Fjord replies that if anything happens, he will take full responsibility and that she cannot harm them. We then see a shot of thousands of chemical barrels being loaded onto a massive ship at a port. Back at Magna's house, he watches TV. He tells his mom that it is all her fault. He says he has been suspended, everyone thinks he is crazy, and therapy is mandatory. He insists that he is perfectly fine and is not going. Turid tells him that he has to go. She says he is not 18 yet, and if he has been told to go to therapy, he is going. Lord speaks up, telling his mom she has no idea what is really going on. Turid goes out and buys a large amount of chocolates and snacks. At the store, Wanche tells her not to worry, and that everything will be alright soon. Turid tells Wanche to mind her own business, and says she is always talking nonsense that no one can understand. We then see Fjord at Jirai's house, but he watches from a distance as she leaves with her father, who has gotten sicker. The pension company has officially refused their claim. At their home, Loritz tells Magna that because of his stubbornness, their mom is falling into a depression and that he should go talk to her. Magna finds her on the couch eating junk food. He goes to his room and decides he has to fix the situation. Back at school, it is the day of the final project presentations. Jirai gives a positive presentation on Edda and receives a good grade, but just before she leaves, she turns back to her teachers. She tells them that everything she just said was a complete lie. She says they all know how polluted the town is, that the water is undrinkable, and that a girl named Isolde was investigating it before she died. She states that the Judal family's industries are behind it all, and that she is not afraid to say it. For this, they fail her. Outside, Saxa confronts her. Saxa asks Jirai who she thinks she is. Jirai replies that Magna saw something in their tunnel and asks if Saxa is going to tell them what it was. At home, Magna realizes he has no choice. He calls his mom's office to say she will not be in, makes an appointment for his own therapy session, and goes to the hospital with her. The scene cuts to Jirai's mom's salon, where Ran is present. She tells Jirai's mom that Magna has gone insane, that they are about to put him in an asylum, and that Jirai needs to stay away from him. Loritz, who has been sitting there the whole time, turns around. When Ran realizes Magna's brother heard everything, she goes silent. As she is leaving, Loritz stops her. Loritz asks if he can give the speech at this year's Constitution Day celebration. Ran says no. Loritz then decides to get a new, blonde hairstyle. Later, Vidar gets a call. He postpones his meetings for a new task, moving 2,500 barrels out of the port immediately. Fjord overhears this. Fjord goes to Jirai's house and offers her father a large sum of money, but the man refuses it. Fjord waits outside, and when Jirai comes out, he explains he was just trying to help. Then, Jirai pulls the photo she took from his house out of her pocket. The year 1899 is written on it. She now knows the truth. Fjord cannot explain. Magna's therapy session concludes with a diagnosis. He is suffering from delusions. The solution is medication. Later, he sits with his mom eating ice cream. As Fjord leaves Jirai's house, he sees Magna. He approaches him. Fjord tells Magna that he was right and that everything he saw was real. He reveals that 2,500 barrels are being shipped out of town right now. Magna asks why Fjord is telling him this. Fjord replies that he just wanted Magna to know that he was right all along. A moment ago, Magna thought he was sick. Now he knows he is not. Later that night, Fjord sneaks back into the library to return the photo, but the entire family materializes from the shadows. Vidar tells Fjord that he has committed a great betrayal by siding with a human. Vidar tells Fjord to go and kill Jirai to prove his loyalty. Magna rushes to the port, where he sees the thousands of barrels being loaded onto the ship. The next day is Constitution Day. As the town celebrates, Eric gives the opening speech. Saxa leans over to Fjord and warns him that if he does not kill Jirai today, she will. A smile spreads across Magna's face. Vidar gets a call and leaves. He arrives at the police station station to find 4 massive chemical barrels sitting right outside, the Judel family's name printed on them. Magna has brought the evidence directly to them. The officer shuts down Vidar's attempts to bribe or intimidate her. The officer tells Vidar that they will be continuing the conversation at the station. Back at the celebration, Eric calls Saxa up to sing. While she performs, Fjord leads Jirai away to a secluded spot. As Saxa's song ends, Eric announces the final performance by Principal Rand Judel. But instead, Lawrence walks on stage, dressed as Rand. He launches into an impersonation, publicly exposing everything the Judels have done. Meanwhile, Fjord's eyes change. Just as he lunges to attack, Magna comes running in and tackles him. He is about to hit him with his hammer when Jirai jumps between them. Jirai pleads with Magna not to kill Fjord, saying he is back to normal. Fjord screams at them to run and get out of there before Vidar comes and kills them all. Vidar has arrived. Jirai and Fjord flee as Vidar shouts at Magna in the ancient language, vowing to kill him and calling him a boy playing at being Thor. Magna's powers awaken. He raises his hands to the sky. Lightning from the heavens converges and channels through him. He and Vidar are both engulfed in a blast of electricity. Magna is thrown to one side, Vidar to the other. From a distance, Wonche watches as a heavy rain begins to fall. After a few moments, Magna's fingers twitch. He is not dead. The season ends, leaving the questions. Is Vidar really dead? What will his family do now? And has Magna truly, finally, become Thor? So, that's a wrap for Season 1. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want Seasons 2 and 3, drop a comment and let me know, and hype up the video to show your support.